Greetings. This is Scholar Saunders seeing what's current. All right, so we have. Make sure this is straight. Hold on. Make sure I clean this up. We have the what looks like could be the final installment. I might have a bonus from a previous episode that got completely bungled. My fault. I wasn't taking the chat room serious. I thought they were trolling. I thought they were just saying stuff, but it was actually terrible audio. And I'm gonna see if I can get that posted in the weeks to come. Possibly, I may not do it. I'll see what happens. If I get enough donations, maybe I might do it. Who knows? We'll see. Um, but this is the 14th installment in the African American serial killers series. And it's probably the most groundbreaking, most earth-shattering uh, involvement, apart from the one that I have as a bonus. It is the zebra killings in San Francisco during the early 1970s, from 1970 to about 1974. Police suspect multiple murders occurred. They're saying that possibly 70 plus could be, but I think 15 were confirmed. Um, it's just a sad situation with the blacks and whites. It was mainly a racial situation. The term zebra took on a lot of connotations. At first, it was just the bandwidth in which the police used to specify which people were in this particular group. Then it became like a zebra, the black and white, the black versus white kind of situation, like that fatal competition. Um, in all, there were 4 suspects that were rounded up and charged with multiple murders and sentenced to life in prison without parole. They have since appealed multiple times, but have never been able to fully understand, see light of freedom. In fact, 3 out of the 4, I think, died in prison. As a matter of fact, so this was a scary time period. If you're a white person, it's always a scary time if you're a black person, but especially during this time, because this is an era where racial strife was really kicking into high gear, and things were kicking off. It was just at the tail end of the civil rights movement. There are various organizations such as Death Angels. That's the group that propounded and shared these ideas and brought to the fore the idea of killing as many white people as possible, and they eluded the police for over a year, I think it was, um, or maybe even more than a year, a few months, um, and it just gnaws at you because if you don't understand, racial strife across the board, no matter where you are in this country. That's the thing. A lot of people say, "Oh, well, it's just the South." No, there's racial strife all across the whole nation at every single time period during the entire history of America. It confounds the beauty of America: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That is guaranteed to every right respecting individual who is in this land. So, for it to be such a racially based situation, it's hard to really tell what is the main draw, besides just out there killing white people. I mean, that's what it was. And um the one of the inmates was still doing, talking about, radicalizing people in a negative way. um the teachings of this specific ideology. So it's very difficult to try to put all these different things into one situation, because San Francisco was is a destination town. San Francisco is a town usually marked by the Q community, the queer community. It's marked by industry. It's marked by a lot of different factors, and in one instance, they had I don't know if they had a curfew, but people just chose not to go out to nightclubs and parties and different things like that in fear of being harmed. I mean, this is the exact opposite of what whites felt during Jim Crow. It was mainly black people. Black people could have been snatched off the street, bound, gagged, shot, sliced, severed, genitals, severed, stuffed in their mouths, set on fire, and yoked up into a tree. That's all that could have happened to them. So it was like the balance of fear had shifted. If you were a black person, you really didn't have to worry about it because it was only it was a white crime. And that's what gave the inkling. This what gave the initial idea of being able to understand what it was that actually took place, that actually happened. That's the reality of it. That's the reality. And for anyone who studies these kinds of situations, it's only right that we take into account the fact that the zebra killers were not treated the same way as the Zodiac killer in the same place, San Francisco. And to be honest, they've never caught the Zodiac killer. He could still be out there. He or she could still be out there. Most likely most likely a white male. But they make books about him. They make long journalistic diatribes and films and novels all about the Zodiac killer. Very scant, representation of the zebra killers. Very scant. They should have that to show you how vicious and evil these perpetrators were, against this city. I'm gonna play a video. Let me see. I'm gonna play this video. That should be beneficial.
Well, California has a lot of creepy killers in its past. The Night Stalker, Zodiac Killer, Charles Manson. The list goes on. But 40 years ago, San Francisco was terrorized by mass murderers who are rarely mentioned. Linda Yee found out why no one wants to talk about the zebra killers, even today.
San Francisco police have intensified their so-called Operation Zebra.
It was national news. Racially motivated murders nicknamed Zebra for the police radio band assigned to the case.
All the same pattern. White people shot down by a black gunman for no apparent reason.
Suspects roaming San Francisco streets, mutilating, torturing, and killing.
They eventually decapitated her.
Lou Calabro was a patrol sergeant during that first Zebra attack. A young couple kidnapped while walking in their Telegraph Hill neighborhood in October 1973. The husband survived.
Simply pulled out his gun and fired at me twice.
The future mayor, Art Agnos, was their sixth victim.
Then I looked down, I was bleeding.
Shot after attending a community meeting on Potrero Hill. The killers were tied to a militant black Muslim group known as the Death Angels.
And in order to be initiated into this very murderous group,
they had to kill a white person.
By Christmas, more than a dozen people were butchered or shot. One night, 5 people were shot in 2 hours, including a 45-year-old woman who was just doing her laundry here on Silver Avenue. That's when the gunman walked in, shot, and killed her.
People were scared to go out at night.
Retired homicide inspector Gus Carreras headed the task force to find the killers. Mayor Joe Alioto ordered a citywide dragnet.
Those extraordinary measures are going to involve stopping a number of people in San Francisco who fit a certain profile.
Black, between 20 and 30, 5 feet 9 to 6 feet tall, of medium build. There are a lot of people in San Francisco who fit that description.
The city was accused of civil rights abuse. Reverend Cecil Williams of Glide Church angrily pointed out the lack of random stops when cops were looking for the Zodiac killer 6 years earlier.
They did not, in fact, begin to create a dragnet and a police state as it relates to white participants.
A federal court ended the stops, but what finally broke the case? Composite sketches. Death Angels member Anthony Harris saw himself in the drawings, and fearing for his life and seduced by the $30,000 reward money, he called the cops.
And he laid everything out to us. Names, places, crimes committed.
4 zebra suspects were convicted for 16 murders and remain in prison on life sentences. Anthony Harris was in witness protection. Today, 40 years later, the case is rarely discussed, almost forgotten.
This was such a racially tinged, sensitive issue. A radical sect of the black Muslims killing white people. It's something that this country is not comfortable discussing or remembering.
But it continues to haunt the memories of survivors and families of the murder victims. In San Francisco, Linda Yee, KPIX5.
Well, police stopped and searched more than 500 black men as part of Operation Zebra. The killer's trial lasted more than a year, and at the time, it was the longest.
Jesus Christ. Oh, I hate this. Hate this. All right, back to this. Back to this. All right, you just saw, one of the mayors of San Francisco, who later went on to become, the leader of the city. He was one of the zebra killer victims who survived. And you heard it earlier that these are the same men that decapitated one woman in particular. This is no friendly group. There's no, outreach group. There's no, just a rational group, but virtually harmless. This is extremism. This is not even extremism. This is, force and ugliness. Extremism is good. To be extremist is good. If you're extremist for morality, that's a good thing. If you're radical for capitalism, that's a good thing. Extremism and capitalism and extremism and radicalism often get bad names, but it's a totally different set of ideas when it comes to being part of a group that is malevolent and wants to kill. Let me see if I can find another video. No, it looks like it's the only one. It looks like it's the only one. That said, this is an example. This is an example of how very rare it is to talk about the zebra murders. For whatever reason. The reason most likely is, of course, racism on both sides. Black people, white people, and other sides as well. Brown, red, yellow. It's really a shame. All right, let's see if I can play this one.
are selected at random, the only situation being that they be white and that they be at or around certain communities in San Francisco. When that kind of a thing is there, you can't really investigate it as you would a regular murder. There's no way of doing it.
Alioto also had a message for the people of his city.
I think extraordinary situations like this call for extraordinary measures. Those extraordinary measures are going to involve stopping a number of people in San Francisco who fit a certain profile. In the very nature of things, we are going to be stopping a lot of innocent people. Everything that will be done within constitutional limitations, I assure you of that.
Police Commissioner Washington Garver appealed to members of his own race.
So I'm appealing to the members, the blacks of this city, that if they are stopped, not to resent it, but to show their identification and, if necessary, permit a search. And I hope everyone will.
The total amount of reward money now offered for the zebra killer totals $30,000. But neither the mayor nor police are making any predictions as to when or how an arrest will be made. This is Larry Worrell at the Hall of Justice, San Francisco.
And we see there, again, the $30,000. $30,000 that was put up for these killings. He took the advantage. He was like, hey, I'm a snitch. I got a snitch. I'm getting 30 grand. Snitches get riches. You know, I can go to witness protection or something like that and get this money and be cool, you know? It won't be a problem. So that's the way you have to break it down. You have to look at it just like that, because if it weren't for this particular individual, I think his name was Harry. I can't remember his name off the top. But if it wasn't for this man, they would still probably be killing into the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s, up to today. Who knows? But he led the police to all kinds of paraphernalia, to different codes and different thoughts and expressions and names and locations of the people where they lived that were involved with the death angels. That's the way. This is a clear-cut example of snitches get riches. Snitch, because this isn't like, oh, he's ratting on somebody selling drugs or people doing prostitution and stuff like that. No, these are actual crimes. People being murdered and brutalized and everything. That's completely different. Even though it's on the books as drugs are illegal, you know, narcotics are illegal, scheduled substances are illegal, prostitution is illegal. They're not crimes per se. They're crimes with the asterisk next to them. They're not really crimes because there's no victim involved. So, just the nature of this whole campaign of murder, this whole, you know, bloody trail, you know, that happened, you know, just that spiked during this time period. A lot of people call for racism, saying, you know, they didn't have these random stops for white people when the Zodiac killer was out. Why are they doing it now? What is up with that? Well, I think this should be random stops for people. I do in certain circumstances, and they have to, as long as it doesn't violate their constitutional rights. I think that's probable. I think that's permissible, as long as their individual rights are not violated. I think that's permissible. In these situations, it was a situation of crisis. It was essentially an emergency. It was essentially an emergency. So in an emergency, that's when you hunker down and you do what has to be done without stomping or trampling over someone else's individual rights. That's the difference. You don't stop rights. You don't stop viciousness or evil by committing even more viciousness and evil. That's a fact. So, with these zebra killers, it's very sad. I can go on YouTube, put in Zodiac Killer. Oh my gosh, it's a video. It's a movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. There's There's a book out. There's a novel. Zebra killings? Well, we got this podcast with 27 views. We got, these very short news clips. That's about it. We got nothing else. We don't have anything else on it, and that's a sad thing. And it's obviously racially motivated, just like the 13 other cases that I've covered in African American serial killers. It's all about race. It's all about race. Either one on one side of the coin, it's, oh my God, they're eluding the police. They're doing so craft like work. I mean, it's just very too. It's too methodical. It can't be anybody but a white man. And they're like, oh, it's a white man. It's a black man. It's a black person. We got to change up our whole style. And then it gets to the other side of the coin where it's like, this criminal mastermind, this genius, completely was brilliant. And, just to save face almost, just to, to backtrack and say, well, we've said it so many times about white criminals. We have to say it about the black killers too. Both are wrong. You don't say that either one, black, white, brown, red, yellow, are geniuses for their crimes. They're not masterminds in any way, shape, or form. They're dastardly bastards and evil women and evil men that seek only to destroy and to kill. So, just the devil's angels is just an expression of that. They were an offshoot of the Islamic faith, and the Muslims, of course, rejected any and all of their activities and didn't really take into consideration, how vicious they actually were. And that's why they had at least 16 confirmed kills. 16 confirmed kills among 4 people. And the notion was that they were medium build between ages of 20 and 30 black men. Okay, so you have to go by that. Black males, if you want to go by that even. That's what you had to do. So take all that and put it into a blender and see what comes out, what kind of smoothie comes out. It's an oozing, ugly, disgusting mess that was perpetrated by these evildoers. As former President George W. Bush would say, salute to Rick James. You're in the house among 2 people. I'm all right with that. What do I say, Sir Rick James? They start young, okay. But 2 people in here. I don't know how many likes, but he knows what I'm about to say. Not mad. That's right. I'm not mad. Because it's all about rebroadcasting. That's what it's really all about. I mean, I can get a few people in the live chat, but, the rebroadcast is what it's really about. But anyway, yeah, so 4 of these males, 3 out of 4 are dead. They died in prison, as they should. See, that's justice to me. If you can't fry them, at least let them die. If you can't fry them, at least let them die in prison. Some of them are just misunderstood heroes, or something. Well, I wouldn't put them that far. That's giving them way too much credit to say they're misunderstood heroes. I wouldn't say all that. I wouldn't go so far as to say that. I'll say they were disgruntled, aimless, backwards, disturbed males who needed to grab on anything. That's the objective. Yeah. What define objectivist, Rick James? But anyway, So given the fact that these males never got their looking at the other side. No, that's not what objectivism means. Sorry, that's not even what objective means. You have to, and I have to say connotatively. I don't know the exact denotation, but that's not exactly what objectivist means. But anyway, so these four killers, these four murderers, were so severe in their attacks. One victim was sliced in the head and face. He actually survived and tried to speak out against, racial intolerance and different things like that. That these are just a select few of people, just like white people. Not all white people are serial killers, even though they are the majority. I'm just giving you the examples that I've researched. And these 14 cases, 15 is going to be a bonus maybe sometime, maybe in the next few weeks. Because that audio was really messed up. I don't know what happened to that audio. That audio sounded horrible. It sounded like Daft Punk on like shrooms or something. Like it sounded horrible. And I didn't understand what they were saying. I thought that because I was talking real low like this because my niece and nephew were sleeping, and I was talking low. And I thought they were saying like the reason why the sound sounded so bad is because it was it was because I was talking so low. But in reality, it was the fact that whatever happened, some wires got crossed. I don't know, digitally. I don't know what else happened. Sir Rick James says it was scary. He was scared. He admitted it. You're my one and only rider right now. Salute. Appreciate it. This is your time. This is your time, I guess, between like 11 o'clock and 4, something like that. This is your golden hour. But anyway, these killers, why are we so? I mean, because it's black and white, and brown and red and yellow too, but mainly it's black. Mainly it's black and white, and like the late great Patrice O'Neal said, it's black versus white, and everybody got to choose which side they're gonna be. Asians obviously chose white. And Hispanics, they chose black, but they don't want to choose black because they want to help our struggle. It's because they want to, to him, their struggle, to me. But they don't want to help their struggle because they want to stop. You're not getting it, nigga. I don't care if, by the year 2050, Hispanics will have over 200 million different babies. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter. You're not claiming our suffering spot. Oh, you're having your morning porridge. I got you. Cool. It's afternoon, though, where I am. I don't know what time it is where you are, Rick James. I think you're in Florida, though. I always forget. I think you're in Florida. I think it's afternoon for you, too. Zebra killers. Maybe Spike Lee. Maybe, Ryan Coogler. Maybe, I guess... Jordan Peele, the keys for okay, great. So you're eating key lime pie with your porridge, and what part of the Keys are you in? The part of Key West where the chickens run freely, and there's the Ernest Hemingway house and the Tennessee Williams house, but no. There's just so little coverage, and black people will say like, we don't really want to talk about that. It's not really heroes and people that made history and things like that, and made good history, not like the first serial killer and the serial killer with the most kills is a black man. Okay, I got you, Rick James. He says, no, I don't have that much money. I'm in the part with hookers. You got enough time for, you got enough money for them, don't you? Oh my God. Okay. Gotta stay focused. There's little to no there's very little press concerned with this amount of people who were killed. Like I said, blacks don't want to hear it, whites don't want to hear it. We don't hear those nigger stories. Hear that those nigger rampages and nigger, killing other white people. We really don't care about them killing other black people. Are you kidding me? Get out of here. Like, that's just the attitude that is prompted by some people, not all people. Some people. A very select few, probably. Not even that much. But I think there's a caution, there's a warning, there's a caveat that goes along with it. There's definitely a caveat, a warning that goes along with it, because you don't want to incite anyone. You don't want to encourage anyone to say, oh, that seems pretty cool. I can go on a shooting rampage and, off myself or go to jail for the rest of my life or put on death row. It's just really distressing. It's a distressing topic. And it's easy to get caught up in the sensationalism of it. Oh my God, black men and black males and this devil's angels and they're killing white people. And it's like very stressful and heightened and you just have to sit down, look at the facts, look at the case, be objective. Understand the role of ideas, and this is way before, DNA was considered part of the crime element. This is way before, I think even ballistics was pretty unsophisticated at that time, early to mid 70s. So they had to have enough gumption, enough, drive to be able to capture these people, and it probably wouldn't have happened if it weren't for one of them, the fifth death angel that ratted him out. He was a rat. It's a good rat. Rats are good. Snitches are good. See how many lives were saved when you snitch? See what happens when you snitch? You get rich. You get $30,000 was probably like $50,000 or $75,000 in today's money. So that was probably a good chunk of change back in the 70s. To be honest, you have to appreciate the fact that so many people are engaged in different activities. That even right now, there's some like just we've seen in the news recently. The guy comes in with a high-powered rifle, and it's like, where does that come from? I mean, kills 4 people and then kills himself for what? Because he was disgruntled at the NFL not helping out people with CTE. It's very disturbing, but it's very rare. These are rare incidents, but they get heightened. They get blown up. They get, posterized. They get very elaborate. I mean, even the zebra killers, even though they don't talk about them that much today, and there's hardly any more novels or movies made about them. There may be a few, but there's very scant in comparison. Oh, is that real? That happened at the office building next to where my son works. Fact. I didn't know that, Rick James. I'm glad to see your son safe. Is he okay? Wow, that's so. There's people plotting right now. Okay, good. Yes, he says yes, sir. But okay, so there's people plotting right now, but not too many serial killers. There's more like domestic terrorists and things of that nature going on. Want to blow up this and run through that and shoot through this and things like that. Things that can just happen. Serial killing has to be methodical, has to be planned out, not to be confused with thoughtful, but it just literally has to be planned out. You have to be able to finesse the situation. You have to be calm and cool and collected. It doesn't hurt to be fairly attractive or look handsome or something like that, or beautiful, or in some cases, or even not beautiful in Eileen Wuornos' case. But Rick James said he's shaken up. Okay, well, that's very understandable. I would be shaken up as well. And it just like I said, gnaws at you. It just gnaws at your soul, because these people are not to be confused with geniuses. These killers, they're not to be confused with painters and architects and doctors and lawyers. And there are really legal geniuses. There are really artistic geniuses. There are really, business geniuses. There are no killer geniuses. No murder geniuses. That's what needs to be, focused on the most. So, okay, he says, I disagree, Rick James. Why do you disagree, Rick James? Why do you disagree? Give me your answer in a comprehensive and clear and detailed, with examples and notation. No, I'm just joking about the notation, but just explain yourself a little bit further. Why do you disagree? Some of them can be geniuses with the way they plot and cover their evidence. Fact. That doesn't mean they're a genius. A genius is somebody who's creative. A genius is somebody who is productive. They're destructive. They're horrific examples of and poor excuses for human beings. They're pathetic. Okay, give me an example how OJ was a genius. Please give me that, because he probably wasn't that bright. And I was waiting for him to find the person that killed his wife and her friend. I was waiting for it. So you're saying Dexter is not a genius? That's fiction, sir, and that's not even close to being a genius. But that's also fiction. And how does someone... Okay, I get Dexter because he can dispatch, he can kill people that need to be, who are evil, who are looked at as bad in society. It doesn't mean he's a genius. That just means he has some kind of twisted way of using the justice system. OJ covered all his evidence and got out free. We don't even know that he was not convicted of murder on either account. He was not convicted of murder, so we don't know about if he got out, if he had covered any evidence. Some of them know what they were doing. I think most of them know what they're doing. The zebra killers, I'm sure, knew what they were doing. They had a whole ideology. They had an entire ideology where they're just going to kill white people, not just white women, but white men and white women. And I think there's still repercussions, quiet, little bits that go through the city of San Francisco. I don't know the population of San Francisco. I don't know how many blacks live there, but I don't know if it's a few, but I would imagine it's not too many. Just based off of, the zebra killings. It's probably not as much than you would expect. And in all honesty, the zebra killings, you know, should be a TV series, it should be a movie, it should be a book to teach the children, to teach the babies about what it is to be a black person in America. What does it really mean? And to show that these miscreants, these lowlifes, these losers who killed innocent men and women should always be remembered, not for their any genius or mastermind planning, but for the fact that they failed to be productive, rational, selfish human beings. They failed at that. They didn't have a clue. So I think with all the zebra killers, you know, and there may have been more, who knows, but the 4 were counted and sentenced to life in prison. You just have to, you know, understand that what you do is everything. What you do is who you are. A doctor professes medicine or engages in and practices medicine. He's a doctor. That's who he is, who she is. You know, a mechanic is somebody that works on a car. That's who she is. That's what it's about, you know. That's the difference between the zebra killers. Zebra killers were murderers. That's who they are. That's the similarity, you know. That's who they were and they are. I think one of them is still alive. But I'm just so glad this is another example of snitches get riches. Take that 30,000, tell, open your mouth, run your mouth, rat. See where that takes you. Should take you into a land of riches and dreams untold. Watch the story unfold in front of your eyes. And that person is probably in witness protection right now. Or maybe he died. There's no coverage of that, of course. But I mean, people were just literally taken off the streets. People were literally gunned down in laundromats. This is a horrific situation. Okay, so Zebra was Rick James is late to the show. I discussed this earlier, but I'll recount it. Zebra was the bandwidth for the police. They had a special bandwidth for the killings. It was under Z. I mean, I think it was part of the phonetic alphabet. They do the, you know, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, like all the way up, you know, going across the. And I think Zebra just was like Z. It was channel Z on the police scanner. So I think, you know, it really hit home. It really hit home. And like I said, it took on a different meaning with Zebra because it was black versus white. It's black versus white. And it's not a he. It was a group. It was the Death Angels. It was at least 4 of them. There may have been more. There may have been a lot more, but they caught 4 of them, and that definitely slowed down the process significantly. No, I didn't see any in my research. No relation to Black Panthers. It was an outshoot of the Muslim faith. The what's it called? Not Fruits of Islam. What's it called? Nation of Islam. In some cases, I mean, I think, they shunned them. They did not recognize them in any fashion, in any way. I'm totally against, faith and religion and everything like that. I just have to say that as a disclaimer. But when you're able to shun somebody, that means that you have power and you show your influence, and then that sadly influences and stirs up all the anger of all of them. Are there still gangs, sir? What do you mean? Of course there's still gangs. What do you mean gangs? Are there still gangs, sir? Well, you got MS-13, you got Blood, you got Crip, you got Gangster's Disciples, you got what's it called? Oh my God. I see it. Oh my God. I can't remember what their name is. Oh my no, Amorare. Who's Amorare? Latin Kings, and there's multiple other gangs. There's so many, collectivist nonsense and horrific groups that populate this country and the world. I never heard about them no more. It used to be all over the news. Who are you talking about, Rick James? Who are you talking about? About whom are you talking? Oh, gangs. Yeah. Do your research, sir. There's still gangs. I just listed off, 3 or 4, at least, maybe 5. Very much active, very much that. And I like the big gangs. Big gangs are like the military and the police force. That's the biggest gang in the world. The police force of the world, across the countries, that's the police. They're big. They're the ones in blue. They're bigger than the Crips by magnitude. So if you want to join a gang, make sure you join the police. That's the real gang you want to join. Zebra killers, though. Zebra killers, they just swept under the rug, just for whatever reason. I already gave you the reasons, but for whatever reason, racially motivated. Why was your favorite the Latin Kings, Rick James? I asked you. And the K needs to be capitalized. Yeah, this is installment 14. That means there were at least 13 other ones before this, and then I have a bonus. I'll try to load one day. I will try to be in a live situation one day. They thought for the minority. Why fight for the minority? Why not fight for the majority? And why do you have to be a gang? I don't know. So, the horror, the shock, the awe, the depressing kind of way that people really saw these monsters. I mean, look at this. A serial killer documentary, Meet the Casanova Killer, called More Brutal Than Bundy. Look, just clear-cut examples. Clear-cut examples.
In 2 hours.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's got this, you know, I'm looking at it and it just shows, you know, copyrighted material. Everything's copyrighted except the news clips, which are what, 5 minutes or less. It's embarrassing. It really is embarrassing. That is so, and such an injustice to the victims, because you have to know your history. This is part of history. All these killers are part of history. Every last one. Rick James says, because the majority is already represented, sir. The king fought for the Latin man minority group. I'm not for the minority. I'm only for the single minority, the individual. Ayn Rand said, the smallest minority in the world is the individual. Rot with them. Rot with me. I always want to say rot with them. Gang, no, never mind. Is that what you're saying? Rot with them? See, I'm saying rot with me. Rot with me all night. But salute to you, sir. Thank you for coming in. Make sure you hit that donate button. Make sure you hit that like button. I appreciate it. So, I talked to the last. That's in the title. Over represented. It's overrepresented and hold on. Yet under acknowledged. That is the main thrust of my my shows. That's the main thrust. So feel that heat and we can ride the book. Okay. He's going on with the MJ lyrics. I'm trying. Keeps going back. What the hell? I hate this. So we have to we just have to look at, be careful, because it's like sad. It's because it's like you're most likely not going to be killed by a serial killer. Let's be truthful about that. African American pussy killers. Here we go. Got 3 people in the room. Thank you, YouTube subscriber. But you're most likely not going to be killed by a serial killer. But that doesn't mean that people weren't killed by serial killers. It's just facts. It's just reality. The percentage is so low, especially nowadays. I've said this before. We've got smartphones, we got drones, we got Ring cameras, we got social media, we got Nextdoor and stuff like that. That give way to inhibiting criminals from creating havoc upon the populace. That's just the facts. That's just a fact. And that's the beauty of technology. Everybody says, "Oh, AI is going to do this and AI is going to do that." It's not. It's not going to be that big of a problem. It's not going to be an issue. Everyone wants the dystopian universe to occur in real life for some reason. It's like some sick, twisted way of looking at it. Exactly, Bussy Killer. Okay. What happened exactly? Now I have 0 viewers. Wow. Okay. There's Rick James, Rot With Me, and YouTube subscriber that just sent in their you see 3, I see 0. For me, I can't tell what you guys see, but I see 0, excuse me. We here, okay. It doesn't register. I don't know why not. I don't know why it's not registering. But it's just something so simple as that. Fact. That's why you have to live your life. That's why I just think it's so, the resilience. The resiliency. Is it resilience or resiliency? I can't remember. I think it's resilience, though. Of human beings, and especially American citizens. You want to knock down our towers? Great. We'll build the tallest tower in the Western Hemisphere. How you like that? And it's going to be 1,776 feet in height. What are you going to do? You going to knock this down? Try it. I wish you would. That's the idea we have. That's the idea we have with serial killers. I'm going out on the town tonight. I'm going to have a good time. You know, a woman is going to have a good time with her girlfriends. A guy's going to hang out with his boys. And not worry about, you know, somebody, you know, possibly taking their lives or brutalizing them or raping them or something like that. That's what happens in my town, my city of Newark. Newark, Delaware has been, you know, a place where, you know, young college students have been, if not killed, but at least brutalized or raped in some circumstances. And that's the truth. But not to discredit it, not to diminish it, not to anything like that. But that's not going to be the story of the great majority of people. That's just a fact. And the wonderful thing is, I think increased police presence. I think the amount of like I said, smartphones. It's because Delaware, there's nothing else to do. Exactly. Delaware is boring. Delaware is the best state in the Union. But Delaware is corny. It's whack. Delaware is whack. There's nothing going on, and there's nothing except to make money. That's it. And raise your family and go to school. That's it. There's nothing else to do. Nothing else to do in Delaware. Raise your kids. Go to school. Start a family. Raise your kids. Go to work. Well, I think that is part of a song somewhere. Rick James says Delaware. Oh, Delaware. I think that is part of a song somewhere that somebody started. I'm not sure now. But yeah, to summarize, the zebra killers, malicious, malevolent, ugly, disturbed, excuses for human beings. And they deserve what they got. They got life imprisonment, and 3 of them have died so far in prison. That, I think, is justice. It's not, you know, the complete justice. The complete justice to me would have been to put them to death. We would have had enough evidence on them. We would have had enough clues already matched against their names. And they should have died in an electric chair or a gas chamber or somewhere. I don't think they had the lethal injection in the 70s. I don't think so. That started like in the late 80s and early 90s, I think. If I'm not mistaken, I'm going to have to do my history on capital punishment. That's the reality. You don't believe, okay, you got to say, I don't approve of the death penalty. The death penalty exists. Just because you say you don't believe in it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And why don't you, I think I asked you this before, why don't you approve of the death penalty? Rick James, because I, for one, don't approve of it completely. Not if there's a shadow of a doubt, not if there's reasonable doubt in your case. You should not be put to death in any way. That's how I see it. If a man takes another man's life and gets his life taken in return, it's hypocrisy. I think it's hypocrisy. I know that's called justice. That's called you taking somebody's life. That means your life, you've devalued your life and their life, and you should be put to death because of that. So the zebra killers did not see the death penalty. They found life imprisonment, spent decades behind bars, and I think that was the closest thing to justice. All right, I thank you to Rick James, Sir Rick James, Rock with me, and YouTube subscriber. I appreciate all of you for coming in. I will see you sometime tomorrow, probably at a later date, later time. I appreciate you. Thank you very much. Take care.